Today, Michael's going to discuss how to achieve optimal health at 80 years young. But you don't have to wait until 80. You can start much earlier than that if you're ready to hear what he has to say. And please stay tuned to the end because Michael has a free offer to our audience members. So please stay tuned for that. So, Michael, why don't you talk to us about your journey and how you have achieved optimal health?
Okay, well, it goes back a little while. Actually, I was born in 1942, and I was looking it up the other day, and it was 1 month after the Japan actually attacked Pearl Harbor, and the United States declared war to go into World War II.
Oh my
So,
goodness. I can't
yes,
imagine your parents.
It's funny because I never asked them about that whole experience.
Right.
I missed that opportunity, but
I just can't
I
imagine
yeah
having something like that happen after and giving birth at that time. Wow.
yeah I can. Well, my father it ended up he didn't go to the war. He didn't have to because he had two children at that time. My older brother Arthur, he lives in New York. He's 87 and he's doing very very well. He's been actually plant based for over 30 years. So.
Now
Anyway,
that's
yeah,
because some of us we that have been on the plant-based journey, we want to have our family members involved too. So you're going to have to talk about that too, and which came first, or who started.
well, yeah, I just want to tell a little bit about my father was a butcher, so I grew up in in a home where we ate meat at least once a day, dairy also, eggs, and my brother was also became a butcher before he became whole food plant based. I had two uncles that were butchers and a cousin that was a butcher. So the whole family, we had stores all over Brooklyn. I think there were three or four stores. So that's basically what we ate, and we followed what the government had, the basic seven, which it was always meat and dairy and eggs with a base, and then yeah, you can eat some vegetables and fruits, but this is the way it was, and that's the way we ate. We ate I ate what my mom put on the table. We never thought too much about nutrition. Uh, that's the way people at that time ate. So anyway, so this went on, and I really didn't become interested until 1976, which was I became interested in Eastern philosophy and religion, and on that side of the world, many people were vegetarians. So I became a vegetarian and gave up meat.
So this is just for philosophical.
Yeah, it wasn't really for that much for health at that
Now, was
time.
your brother at the time he was eating that way as well?
My brother, well, he's talking about over 30 years. No, he was already a vegan, but I really wasn't interested that much in it because I was interested in the religious part or the
Right.
philosophical part. So that's why I became vegetarian.
Okay.
And my wife became vegetarian. My wife, Bailey, became vegetarian at that time. And our children became also vegetarians.
So your wife
So,
was not,
yeah.
and so you decided you wanted to be vegetarian, and were you able? Then she decided to do this with you. How did you navigate that?
That's exactly what happened. I was the first one to become interested, and then she decided that she was going to do it. I think I don't remember how long it took her to do that,
And how old were
but
your children at the time?
well, my younger boy, my older boy Renato was born in 1971, so he was only 5 years old,
Okay.
and Adam was born in 1976, so that was pretty much at the time he was born.
So you became vegetarian, and then shortly after that, your wife, and then of course, since she became vegetarian, now, so how did you decide about the kids? Because there's sometimes so much pressure about feeding children.
Well, we didn't have much of a child. I think you have a lot of pressure when the children get older. They become closer to teenagers, and then they'll eat exactly what the parents are not what the parents are not eating. And my son is having that problem now. And my son Renato, he has a fight because he's vegan and his wife is vegan, and the kids just want to eat everything else that's not vegan. It's like that's what happens.
I guess what I meant though, Michael, was that
Yeah.
sometimes you get outside pressures from family members or even maybe physicians when when people choose to change their young children's diets during their time of growth and development. So that's what I was curious if that was anything that you came across.
No, it wasn't. At that time, we didn't have that problem, and so the children ate what we put on the table,
Right, right.
just like I ate what my mother put on the
Yeah, you
table.
didn't question it. You just
Yeah,
eat
I
it.
think eventually things changed, and children they they rebel a little bit because their friends are not eating that. And how could you eat that? Whatever the story is.
Right.
So, but they ate pretty much what we put on the table.
Okay.
And then, so this went along, this is 1976, and I felt pretty good, except I would get sick once or twice a year with flu-like symptoms. I would get a cold, a sore throat, a cough, congestion, and I accepted this. Uh, it was part of my life. I would get sick once or twice a year. And my brother, who had been already on a vegan diet, he suggested that, well, maybe the reason I'm getting sick is because I'm still eating dairy. That's a possibility. And I I didn't want to give up dairy because I couldn't. I was just so attached to cheese. So it was forget about that. I just didn't want to do that. So I didn't want to give up dairy for a while, and then an interesting thing happened with my younger son because Adam, he had been also eating dairy, and he would be every time he would drink a lot of milk. He would drink a lot of milk, chocolate milk, several glasses a day, and whenever he would get sick, also with similar symptoms, he would go into convulsions. He would go up. It would go. His fever would go through the roof, and we didn't know what it was. But every time he got sick, he started crying because he knew where it was going. So we didn't know what to do. And then I don't remember how long, how many years had passed or months had passed. But we had a naturopath doctor who she was an iridologist, and she would look at your eyes and she would discover what you had.
Mm.
Uh, she immediately, we didn't know, we didn't have any idea it had anything to dairy, but she said she was looking in his eyes and he's being overwhelmed or toxic on dairy, and that's what his problem was. And he gave up the dairy, he gave up the milk, and never had the problem again.
Oh my word.
In fact, Adam, the younger boy, he has never eaten meat or fish in any time in his life since he was born, and he became an extreme sportster. So he climbed mountains. No, he was an incredible. He's in incredible shape. So yeah, I just thought of that story because I didn't think of that story before. That wasn't my plan for this podcast.
Yeah. So here
I'm
I was
glad
talking about the children's health and growth and development, and meanwhile you had a story about that. So that was very interesting. And yeah, I just can, I know that as a child, I grew up eating meat and milk and all that. And I, quite often I would have upset stomach, painful tummy aches. And I didn't know what it was. And I just thought that that's just what you dealt with, that people went through that. And they had all kinds of chalky liquid medicines and things. And so
yeah, and so many people are allergic to milk,
I,
and
I really think it was because
that they don't have the enzyme to digest the milk, the lactose, and they have problems with stomach and gut problems, and they don't even know what it is.
exactly.
They think, oh, they go to a doctor, the doctor gives them a pill, whatever it is, but it's really lactose intolerant that hits so many people. And I think in India, it's like 90% of the people are lactose intolerant. In Asia, and in Mexico, it's about 50% are lactose intolerant. So the same thing happened to my wife. She every time she would have milk and dairy, she would have stomach problems. And then I finally got into this plant-based, how whole food plant-based nutrition, and I started reading about this. And this is what what was happening to so many people.
Yeah, it's
And
so
I
so
yeah,
many
and I
people are
yeah,
affected by this, and they don't even know. That's what's sad.
yeah. So, but anyway, to continue a little bit with my story, I went along, and eventually my brother said, "You got to read this book," and it was the China Study by T. Colin Campbell. So I read the book, and I was just completely amazed that I read all of T. Colin Campbell's books. I love it. His book on Whole, and it's been such a voyage, a journey with him. So I read the book, and it changed, and I decided to make the change. So that was 14 years ago, and I haven't turned back since. And for me, that change was, for my own health. But something important happened that sort of directed my journey towards helping other people. And that was a friend of my wife and I, Beatrice. She lived in Cozumel, the island of Cozumel. Because I don't know your audience doesn't know.
We have
I've been
an international,
living in Mexico. Yeah, I've
so
been living in Mexico for more than 45
a lot
years
of people
already.
know about Cozumel, right?
Yeah,
A lot of
right.
ship destination.
So she had a heart attack, and they she went to Merida to get surgery, and she survived the surgery, even though on the table she had a heart attack while they were doing the surgery. But it was successful. She went back home, and a year later she started complaining of pains in her right arm, and they called her back into the hospital again, and they wanted to put in a stent because she had bypass surgery. So they couldn't put the stent to replace the once again blocked vein that she had, and they told her they couldn't do anything for her, and they sent her home, and they told her that not to do any exercise or exertion, not to climb stairs, even though her bedroom was on the second floor. So that's what they told her. What they didn't tell her, and they told my wife and they told her son, that she had about 6 months to live. So I was, I heard about this and had already, this was, more than 10 years ago, and I had already been on whole food plant-based nutrition. And I had read the book by Esselstyn, which is How to Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. And I heard the situation with Beatrice, and I decided that, I got to talk to her about this, because even though she doesn't know she has 6 months to live, she knows that, there is a possibility that things could be turned around, because I was reading that there were doctors, including Esselstyn, that were turning things around with people who are having serious heart disease. So I
Yes.
spoke to her about it, and I gave her the book, Esselstyn's book, How to Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, and she read it, and she made the decision to become plant based. And instead of living the 6 months, she lived almost 9 years. So for
Oh,
me, yeah. And when she did pass away a couple of years ago, it was for another reason. But for me, just that it was like this happened to a friend of mine. It wasn't just I read about it in a book.
yeah.
This actually happened, and I started thinking, how is it possible that doctors? This is not the go-to, cure, or what they
The
people should
protocol.
doctors should
Yeah.
the protocol that doctors should be offering at least as an option to
Yes.
people who are having heart problems,
Right.
instead of
Like,
having to say you have to have
right.
open heart surgery and then stents put in every year or two, etc. And and then to me, that really woke me up. And then I started thinking, well, if this is true for heart disease, what other diseases are they not telling us about that whole food plant based and and healthy lifestyle practices can really help us. And that's where I got into, my whole story of I created my Facebook page and my website, and I wrote the book, which is The Thriving Vegan, and created a Facebook group here where I live in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. We have a Facebook group here. It's called the Vegan Wave, and we have I think yesterday the count was 441 members, and we have monthly potlucks and meetings. So that got me started with that, and I started working on my new ebook, and I'm writing my second book now. I'm in the middle of doing that. So I really want to help people, and that's why I started to do these podcasts, because hey, what a better way, to inform and educate people. This is an incredible way to go. This is, whole food, plant based is just incredible, and you can eat. There's so many different types of different recipes being offered now. My wife Dalia is an incredible whole food, plant-based cook, oil-free for 14 years. We're doing this journey together, and we have a beautiful garden that I'm looking at right now out of my window, where we have so many organic foods, and it's just a wonderful life. I really enjoy it, and what's been the result? Just this health. At 80 years old, I'm just feeling, just really wonderful. Just enjoying it and just trying to tell people, you have your podcast is on 50 over after 50, and mine is after 80. So we
Yeah,
can come
exactly.
together on that.
Right. We're people who have reached your point in life. They're thinking about, what can they do to stand up and maybe walk across the room without pain, and how that they feel that they don't really have anything to look forward to because of the different medications that they're on and the side effects, and all every time they go to a doctor, it's the same, dismal news. And here you are, you authored one book, and then now you authored another book, so and then you're on podcasts, you're vibrant, and it's quite obvious that you're in good health, and this is something that we can look forward to, and if we can just take care of ourselves, and it is possible to be vibrant after 50
Yeah,
and beyond.
absolutely. And I'm actually I'm pretty much convinced that I'd like to start my own podcast, and I have a great name for it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's called Welcome to the Wisdom Years.
Oh, that's very nice.
And I've seen, because I've been checking out different podcasts, but I don't see many podcasts for people who are older than 50. There's some that over 50. And Welcome to the Wisdom Years is going to be about it's true, as you get older, some of our physical abilities, they go down, and that's part of what happens as you get older. But we have something else. When you get older, the problem is in the Western society, once you get older, it's like everybody wants to look young. We do everything to look young. Everything, we go through all kinds of interventions and whatever because we want to look young. But it's like, it's a lost cause. because, but if you really look at it, that you can be healthy inside and be vibrant outside. And not only that, people have been through many years. Here I am in my 80s. We've accumulated a lot of wisdom. We've accumulated a lot of understandings through the years we've been alive, and that's what we have, and that's what we can tap in. Maybe we could think of, well, what can I do? Well, maybe I used to be a writer. I wrote when I was in my 20s, and then I did write for many decades, and all of a sudden I'm writing now, and is it something that you like to do? What did you like to do when you were young? Did you like music? Do you like to play an instrument? Do you like to take care of people? Do you like to paint? Do you like to draw? There's so many things that we have inside. Tap in inside. It's there. It never went away. And I think that, but what's very important to really enjoy the later years, you got to be healthy. because the kids start worrying about your chronic diseases. And the latest thing is like 70% of the American population has, over 7 years of age, has one chronic disease. You don't want to worry about that. You want to just feel healthy and be vibrant enough so you can really enjoy the later years. I don't know how long I'm going to live. I'm not even worried how long I have to live. I just want to be as healthy as I can to enjoy my life while I am alive.
That's just wonderful. So you discovered this lifestyle. You read the book, The China Study, and I told people in the comments that we have links to those books in case they're interested. And so, and a lot of the times when people have adopted this lifestyle, and getting the family on board, sometimes that can be a challenge. And then navigating the kitchen, okay, that can be a challenge too. So, how did you and your wife navigate the kitchen?
Well, the interesting thing is in Mexico, women love to cook. Not so much lately because the younger generations are, now that there's so many things you can get in the store, but most women just were taught to cook. And Mexico is well known for having wonderful cuisine, and so I think that's what helped us. And my wife just loves to cook. So we never had a problem with the kitchen. But I think there's so many recipes out there. There's so many chefs. Vegan chefs are now online, like AJ the chef. There's
Yep.
so many. There's so many books, and most of the books now that I've been reading, whether it's by the doctor, whether it's by Esselstyn or Campbell or McDougall or Bernard Barnard, they all have their recipes at the end of the book.
Yes.
And there's so
So
many
not
books.
just
So
the science and the research, but
yeah,
also.
you have to do. That's the effort you need to make now.
Mhm.
But there's so much more you can do with plant-based foods than you can do with animal products. There's no comparison because the foods themselves, plant-based foods, have their own tastes. You don't even have to do any much with any of it. With the vegetables and the fruits. Yes, they have to cook the beans and different, the chickpeas or whatever the peas, because you don't eat them raw. But in most cases, that's all what you have to do. But there's so much you can do because there's so many recipes and so many different options. But yes, you need to make the effort to do that.
Yeah.
Unless you have a wife who can cook like mine.
Yes, that is wonderful. So now you said that your wife is originally from Mexico, is that right?
She's originally from Mexico. She was born near Guadalajara. She was raised mostly though in Mexico City, and we met here in Mexico City because I had gone through 2 years of postgraduate school in school psychology, and I was about to start my profession when I decided to go for the summer. I was take a trip. I came down to Mexico in a motorcycle. I came down to Mexico, and I met my wife in Mexico, and I never went back. So I never continued my career there. And then we had two children. Both my older boy Renato, he's 51 now. He's a great what do you call sculptor in Mexico. He's doing a lot of work. And then I have my other younger boy Adam. He's 46. He's up near Sacramento. And but my wife and I were just living here and enjoying living in San Miguel de Allende.
So now the reason why I asked about your wife being Mexican, because I think that a lot of the times we have certain foods that we kind of are used to having either from our country of origin or our culture. They're just certain foods that we're used to having. And if we change lifestyles, sometimes it may mean that we have to change things around a little bit. So do you think, was there anything that your wife had to do to change things around as far as her cooking?
Not very much. What's interesting is that she immediately became oil free, and that was amazing because People think Mexicans cook with a lot of oil.
Yeah.
Most of them do. But it's amazing that you don't need the oil at all. You know, you can just she just saute, whether it's mostly with water. Most of the she does it with mushrooms or onions, and they all have their own oil to some extent. But when I eat what she cooks, it tastes like there's oil in there.
Right.
It's so, yeah, it's amazing, and people they don't understand that this is the way it is. You do not need oil to cook.
Yeah, that's correct. That was something that when my husband and I adopted the lifestyle, we had to figure out. And back in 2012, there wasn't as much information as there is now. And you're right. The plants and the nuts and the seeds, they all have oil in it, but they also have a lot of water too. And they release it with the heat. And so if something is sticking in the frying pan, you just put a tablespoon of some kind of liquid, whether it's water or vegetable broth or citrus juice or something, and then and you scrub around a little bit with your spatula, and it deglazes, and the flavor that you get, it's just, I think, without the oil, because the oil kind of like coats the food and it coats your tongue, and
Yeah,
you just don't get that taste sensation that you do when it's not present.
and it's not very healthy, and also is much less problem to clean. You don't use oil. You don't have to. It's so simple. Most of the time, I'm just cleaning with water.
Exactly. You're so right. And the stove
Yeah,
top and the vent hood and all these things that normally would get full of grease and the oven,
yeah,
it's just, oh, I love that. That is an added benefit.
it
And like
sure is. Right.
the oil is not healthy for you. It also has over 120 calories a tablespoon. And most people, whether they realize it or not, probably have at least 3 or 4 tablespoons of oil that come in their processed foods, or they come in the foods that they're preparing. So can you imagine all those extra calories that did what when you could have had something really delicious instead that was worth all those calories? But yes,
Yeah,
it's very unhealthy too.
yeah. And another thing about the oil, according to Caldwell Esselstyn, the doctor, is the oil destroys the endothelium cells of our arteries where the nitric oxide is, and nitric oxide is incredibly important, for our arteries because it coats the arteries, and it allows for the flexibility of the arteries. When it needs to expand, contract, it's able to do that, and it also coats the artery with it's like a Teflon coating on the artery that allows the plaque not to things not to stick. So when you're using oil, which destroys the endothelium cells, it could possibly lead to hardening of the arteries, which leads to heart disease.
Right. And those arteries are all throughout our body. Can people think if they just get a stent that, everything's okay, but there's all the, I mean, if one part of the artery is affected, it's all affected. And, and it's just so much easier if you just take care of what's causing it, right? Instead of trying to patchwork things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because once you get your stents, you're going to keep getting stents.
Yes.
Because if you're not removing the cause, which was your diet from the beginning, it's the same thing that happened with our friend Beatrice. That she would have to get stents because they keep clogging up. Because you got to stop the clogging.
Yes, absolutely. So did you have any weight loss, or were you on medications, or I mean, what health benefits would you say that you experienced, especially since you gave up dairy too?
Yeah, well, when I was on a meat and dairy and eggs diet, and I until I was about 25, I I weighed a lot. I played high school football. I was a tackle. I'm not very tall. I was a tackle in high school. I had 4 scholarships, football scholarships to universities, and I took one, which was the University of Bridgeport. But once I got there, I saw how big these guys were, so I quit the team. But I
Smart.
weighed a lot. Smart, yeah. I wouldn't be doing. I don't know what I would be doing. So I was weighed. So I weighed then. I weighed like 190 pounds. So I went down. Now I weigh my I like my weight at 135, 136,
Hmm.
which is I'm thin, and I just I. But what's incredible when I went on a whole food plant based diet. I started losing gradually. So I went down to 180, 170, and I started going down. And now I feel that I'm the way I should be because it stays pretty much where I am. I may go up a pound or down a pound, but I feel really good at this weight, and I just don't want to gain weight, and I just feel that it's the plant based nutrition to me is the best for long term. If you want to lose weight, because what do people do? They jump around from diet to diet. If
Yes.
you go into Wikipedia, there's over 100 diets listed there, and then people go to they just hop around, but it doesn't work because they're not sustainable. Whole food plant based is sustainable. Once you get into it and you enjoy it and you get used to it, and it's not difficult to get used to it, you just have to give it a few weeks. It's interesting. I was listening to a speech by Eric Adams, the new mayor of New York.
Yes.
So he was talking about. So he was vegan and
I
he
had
was
the
suffering a
pleasure of
lot.
meeting him. He's very, very, very nice person.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. So,
Yes.
anyways, he was giving. So I was watching the speech he was giving, and he was talking about the synapse, changing your synapse connections, and what it is. And it's already a matter of practice and changing habits, because once you change your habit in anything, where you ride a bike, you play an instrument, you have to give it time. It takes time before your muscles start adjusting, and then your brain, it's the synapse connections in your brains that say, okay, we're changing over. This is new, but we're going for it. So your brain adjusts to it, and all of a sudden, it's like you have a new habit, which is whole food plant based. And then there's another thing which really helps, and that is your taste buds, because where there's so much addiction because of the sugar and the salt and the oil that we get used to. That's why so many people, they're addicted to McDonald's or Burger King. You're addicted because these foods become addictive. And but if you do an experiment, and you say, okay, I'm going to give up salt for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden you start eating salt again, and it's so salty because you have your taste buds are new. So that's what we have to do. So you have those two things are in favor of changing the synapse connections, and our taste buds are all on our side if we
You're
give it
so
a
right.
few weeks. Yeah.
Gave up salt, back in 2012, and it was a little difficult in the beginning because we were so used to the highly palatable food. And we live near the ocean, so we get to go swimming in the ocean quite often. And every once in a while, I'll be in the ocean with my husband, and he'll come over and give me a kiss, and then he'll say, "Salt." We hadn't had it for so long. It's like, whoa, salt. Where ordinarily we wouldn't have even noticed, because as salty as the ocean,
That's
as
funny.
salty as our food was, and we didn't even really notice. So yeah, yeah, our taste buds absolutely do neuro adapt, and just have to give it time. You're right. So I mean, people, a lot of now, especially, it seems that, I mean, they have the Atkins and the paleo. So those diets seem to be so popular. And so, what would you say? Why would you say that somebody should do the paleo, or some kind of similar diet to that, versus the plant based? What do you want to talk about the differences?
Yeah, well, I think the most popular diet now, it seems, is the what do you call it? The one you just
The keto?
the keto diet,
Yeah.
right? The keto diet is the most popular now, and I think one of the reasons is that you're allowed to keep on eating meat, and that's what one of I guess the advantages for people who are changing their diet. And the other thing is you can lose weight. That they find that you go on a keto diet, you lose weight, and you can also, it seems to have some sort of an effect with type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
but it does help with that. And the keto diet started out in the I think it was the 1920s or 30s for epileptic attacks.
Yes.
They found out that having a high-fat diet was helping with the epileptic attacks, and that's what the positive side of it. But from what the problem with all the diets is that there are no long-term studies because they haven't existed that long. Plant-based nutrition goes back. If you go back all the way to the apes, we're talking about a couple of million years. These new diets, they either go from the Atkins South Beach diet to the newer diet, the paleo diet, and the keto diet. Uh, my son is trying this keto diet because he wants to go on what is it called? What is it? The fasting now they have where you
Intermittent
fast.
fasting or the
Yeah, where he just eats a certain amount of time during the day
yeah,
and
the intermittent fasting, right. So if
intermittent
you're on
fasting.
a keto diet,
But
you would be
but
eating high calorie dense meats, which
yeah,
would,
exactly.
yeah,
The problem that I have, there's a couple of problems. One is a lot of people are not finding the keto diet sustainable
yes,
because our body has been so used to to eating the way it's been eating on with plant-based foods that we need that they can't maintain a keto diet because you're not getting enough of basic foods that you need, the nutrition that you need. So after a while, you go back to you need the carbohydrates, and in order to maintain a keto diet, which I understand, you have to have so few carbohydrates to make it go into where the fats take
yeah,
yeah ketosis. I think you need to have 40 grams of carbohydrates as a maximum, and it's very very difficult. It's more difficult going on a keto diet than it is on a plant-based diet to maintain it for
maintain,
long
right.
time. And now studies are also showing that there is muscle loss on weightlifters, and they're losing their muscle. So I really think that people really, should think about this twice about the keto diet, and because it's very hard to sustain. And the other thing, which I find maybe the most important thing, is that you're not getting your fiber.
Mm.
You need to get fiber, and that's one of the questions I think you were going to put up
Yeah,
as far.
why don't we just got to talking and then we didn't even
Yeah.
do let's just do our
It's time for True or False on Be Green with Amy Live. Answer true or false to Amy's questions in the comments below, and Amy will ask our guest for the expert answer.
yeah, so here's our true or false, Green Warriors. True or false? Plant protein is the favorite food of the gut microbiome. So just type in true or false. Don't worry, we're not getting graded on it. And Michael's going to give us his input on that. What do you say, Michael?
Well, it's always been the favorite question that people have from vegans is that where do you get your protein from? So my answer has always been, well, I get the same protein from the same place that the gorillas or elephants or water buffaloes or even cows get their protein from, and they get it from plants. And then we know all these. There are so many athletes now that are getting their protein from plants now, plant-based elite athletes. So that's been always the question. But for me, it's learning more and more about our microbiome, which is found in our gut. More and more we're hearing stories about the importance of the microbiome. It's now even being considered the new organ of
Yeah.
our body. And there are more studies on the microbiome over these past 5 years than any other plant-based study that's being done. I think it's about 10,000 studies a year, and that's because of the ability of the microscope to get into the microbes. So that's why we're learning more and more about the microbiome, that we're made up of microbes. We have more microbes in us. We're talking about bacteria, virus, what not the fungi and the protozoa and yeast. We're swimming in that, and we
Yeah,
are
we're just a host.
we're a host of all that, and most of the
They're living on our
microbiome.
planet. We're their planet. And they're living on us.
Exactly. And most of the microbiome is living in our gut. And it's our microbiome. It's like Hippocrates said 2,500 years ago that the diseases, most diseases are started in our gut. And he knew about that. And that's what we're finding more and more, how important it is to maintain gut health. And we don't eat, our fiber is not digested by our enzymes. We don't have the enzymes to digest our fiber, but our gut does. The bacteria in our gut, they are the ones that digest our fiber and turn it, into short chain fatty acids that help our health and strengthen our immune system. So that's what our gut wants. The bacteria, they want this fiber that's what they love. It's their favorite food. So the favorite food of the gut microbiome is the fiber. And my question is to people who are eating meat products, are you getting enough fiber? And the fact is, we're not. Because that people on the standard American diet, which is based on meat and dairy, is they're getting a small fraction of the fiber they need to be healthy. And what's the result? Well, look at the diseases we get. Look at the chronic diseases. The United States, with the standard American diet, is among the sickest countries among the developed countries in the world. You look at any healthiest countries list, we're not even in the top 30. And we have the best, technology, best trained doctors. We have all these drugs. We have all these interventions. And it's like, what do we have to show for it? I think it's time we have to start taking the responsibility ourselves and, choosing our path, because we're not being helped. We just continue every year. I think this is the last couple of years, the life expectancy is gone down around 3 years. We're living shorter life spans than our children. What's going on here? So I think we should really think about it, but we got to do research, because we got to do our own, we have to re-educate ourselves.
Right.
And to me, I find that, for me and the people I know, plant-based is a great way to go.
Yeah. And there are studies about plant-based, because there's a religious group, the Seventh-day Adventists, and what they do is they eat mostly plant-based. And they have two long-term studies where they had them report about medical issues, and some of them incorporate meat and some of them don't. Some of them incorporate eggs, some of them don't. And along the spectrum, the ones that had the most plant food and the least animal products reported the best health outcomes in these long-term studies. So I encourage people, if you're on the fence about this, to look into the Seventh-day Adventist studies.
Yeah, and the Seventh-day Adventists, they're one of the blue zones.
Yes.
And it's true, that some of the blue zone populations, they eat a little bit of meat, a little bit of fish, but it's not what we eat. They have a little piece of fish, once a week or so. But all of them they're all plant-based.
Yeah,
and
the animal products are more of a condiment and a flavoring than a main portion of the meal for other things to be surrounding. So yeah, you're right about that. So what is I think we have let me see if we do. We have a question for you. Hang on a second. Let me pull that one up. We have, okay, yes, we have, Patty Shue. Do I have to worry about too many oxalates switching to a plant-based diet? Hi, Patty. I think she was on at another broadcast too. Do you want to talk
about? What are we talking about? Oxalates?
Oxalates, yeah.
I'm not sure I know exactly what.
Okay, we'll just save her question for someone else. Oh, here's a good one. Jake said, I really like cheese and eat it, especially when I'm stressed. How can I stop? What can I eat instead?
Uh, well, I'll tell you what I eat.
You're a recovering cheeseaholic, right?
Yeah, we eat cheese with made out of nuts. There's a lot of that available. My wife makes a cheese out of macadamia nuts. We eat also tofu, which I enjoy, so we use that. Also make cheese out of cashews. I'm also a distributor of cashews and macadamias, so we use a lot of that. But there's a lot of nut. It's all part of the recipes. It's a lot of cheese are made out of nuts.
Yes.
So if you want to find out about that, uh, I'm just thinking of.
I have some great cheese recipes on my
Okay.
begreenwithamy.com website, and it's all free. And some of them involve cashews, some of them don't. And I mean, I have one that's for like a nacho cheese. Oh boy, it is. It's like, should I just
Outstanding.
as a soup if you want to, or you can thin it out, make it into a soup, or you can
Yeah,
and you can eat all you want and not feel
yeah.
bad about it. So yeah,
I can recommend a book. I think it's by Neil Barnard. I don't know if it's called The Cheese Trap.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He did write a book, and I have that on my website too.
The Cheese Trap. Yeah, if you want to read a book, if you want to give up cheese, The Cheese Trap. He
Uh,
gets into the whole book. He gets into it and how it's made, and yeah, it's an excellent book if you want to get some background information. Why, not only give up cheese because of the difficulty with the taste, but also give up cheese because it's one of the most, maybe the most processed food on the planet, and if you want to give it up for your health, because cheese isn't easy to give up, but it's not very healthy if you want to live to a long old age, like I do.
right, and I'm telling you, once I gave up these products, especially the animal products, especially the cheese, though, I used to get sinus infections, chronic sinus infections, and like I told you, I used to have tummy upsets, and I started this in 2012, and I have not since then have not had one sinus infection, and not any tummy upsets. So I really feel that it was definitely due to the cheese. Yes, absolutely. And okay, so we have another question. Let's see, and that is from, they go through kind of fast sometimes, so I have to find them again. Okay, yeah. Joe wants to know, what's your favorite Mexican dish?
My favorite Mexican dish is, I think, beans. I think about it, I love to always have beans around because they're so healthy, and rice, beans and rice. I like enchiladas made with tortillas. I like what's the other one? Enfrijoladas, it's called. It's tortillas with some sort of a filling. It could be with tofu or vegetables, and it's smothered with bean sauce. I really like that, and then it's covered with a cashew cream and some chili. Always with chili. I mean, without chili, it's not Mexican. Well, it is, but
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to, some people say that, oh, I think that if I adopt a plant-based lifestyle, it would be expensive. And obviously, with beans and rice, that's one of the least expensive foods that you can buy. So, and you can get filled up very well on beans and rice alone.
absolutely. And there's so many places, there's so many videos and different websites. There's so many great videos that have been made, documentaries on plant-based foods. And, people, I have my website, which is going to be going revamped now. It's going up. If people, you're going to be giving that information on
Yeah,
my
we will
website.
be very
If
shortly.
people want more information, because I have so many blogs and posts I've been doing over the years that there's so much information to be found, but
Yeah.
it's all out there if we just do the research.
And that's what we kind of have in common, where we found good health from this lifestyle, we found vitality, and we both really want to share this with the rest of the world because everybody has a right to know about it. You don't have to do it, but it's not fair if nobody tells you. So I think of it like the warning on the cigarette box. It should be
Mhm.
there, and you can read it. If you still continue to want to smoke, that's your personal preference, but somebody needs to tell you at least.
Yeah. But you know what happened? Now we can go back, and because when I in the 50s, that was my time.
Yes,
Everybody smoked.
including the
I
doctor.
mean, including the doctors. Advertisements by the doctors. It was unbelievable. It was even good for your breath or good for your teeth. Dentists were saying it was good for your teeth.
Yeah,
And then you had the Hollywood stars and the athletes were also promoting, smoking. And then what happened was when the Surgeon General came out with, the cancer, the link between cancer and cigarette smoking that was in the late 60s. But from the 50s to it was like 20 years, and they had already had thousands of studies were done linking cancer and smoking, but we never heard about it because of the power of the cigarette companies. So it wasn't until then the Surgeon General came out, and eventually the doctors that supported smoking were not supporting smoking anymore. So for me, it would be so incredible if we can get the doctors to change a little bit about they're not supporting nutrition. Give me a break. It's time, especially where people are starting to realize that changing is possible, and it brings about good health. But it would be great that we have, wouldn't it be great if the Surgeon General puts says, an ad was showing McDonald's, be careful, or, warning against, just eating, some of the unhealthy. So, I think that it would be great. I think the big change will happen if the doctors get on board and if they get nutrition taught in their university, where the medical schools, they start learning about the importance of plant-based foods. And once that happens, I think that things will start to change. But it's not happening yet. So I think it's time we need to take our responsibility for our own health. That's what I feel about it.
yes, exactly. I agree with you, and it's a shame that the doctors do not get any nutritional education. They learn about pills and procedures, and they learn about going through diagnostics and things, but they really can't. I remember my husband had an elective surgery, and the surgeon had, well, he asked us why what we did to stay looking so healthy and vibrant. So we talked to him about our lifestyle, and so then at that point he knew how we ate, and so when he was giving recommendations for the surgery, he told my husband, now make sure after the surgery you get protein, you know. So I knew that he didn't really, he just thought that that's what had to be done. I don't think he really learned anything about it. So I said, well, how much? And he said,
Right.
lots. So it was obvious that he wasn't talking because he
Yeah.
learned something in medical school. It was just something that he had thought that he knew about, maybe from the
Mhm.
internet or whatever. So yes, it is important that they know, because I mean, what you eat makes you. I mean, there you go, right? It forms all the cells in your body, and it feeds that microbiome, and it's kind of like the soil. Whatever you put in the soil makes the soil. You put leaves in it, and it breaks down and makes soil, and the bugs and all the different things make
Yeah.
different nutrients in the soil, and we're just our intestine is, if you looked at it, it's like a big root of a plant turned inside out.
Or you can look at the intestine like being a garden
Yes.
where it's cultivated, and like you were saying about the soil, what we do, we're destroying the soil with the not taking care of it, or the glyphosates and all of the herbicides that are destroying. That's what we're doing to our gut.
Yes.
With the antibiotics and all the drugs that we're consuming, and the stress that we're going under, and the bad foods that we're eating. We're not cultivating our garden the way we want it with beautiful food. We're cultivating, plants that we don't want there. So I think it's that's what's under study now, and I think this microbiome, what's happening, is going to change everything. I believe this is what's going on. People are going to become more aware of it. It all starts down in the gut.
Oh, Sky loves wanted to know, what do you think about eating bugs craze?
Well, I'm not crazy about that craze.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Well, what I think is, and I've heard about this, is that insects, bugs that people are eating, well, first of all, there's not any regulation on it, but also a lot of them have parasites. And when you're going and eating a bug, you could be ingesting parasites into your body. So I would recommend against it.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the new craze with what's going to happen if we don't have the soil. We can't eat that, other things. We're going to end up eating bugs, and it's not for me.
No, it's not for me either.
Especially when you're 80, I'm not into bugs anymore.
No, not at all. I think he talked about this a little, but maybe you could just kind of give us, because Angie wants to know, what do you eat a day? So in a typical day, what would you?
Okay, I'll tell you. In the morning, I usually eat. Most mornings, I'll eat oats, with fruit, and with berries, different fruits, different types of fruits. Changing it around, and I'll have toast. I'll have a piece of toast, that a good toast, and maybe a little bit of peanut butter if I want. I'll have also a drink. I'll make most mornings. I'll have a drink with green tea. It's like a shake. I make it with. Let me see if I can remember. Almond milk, which I make my own almond milk. I'll have almond milk. I'll put in cacao and green tea and a good slice of banana and cinnamon, and I'll make a shake out of it, and that's what I'll have with my oatmeal and a piece of toast. And then for lunch, that'll change. I always make the salad. My wife cooks the main meal, but I always make the salad, and she'll make. She does wonders with vegetables, with lots of kinds of vegetables. With which we use a lot of mushrooms and tofu and all kinds of vegetables. She make a stew out of it, and then sometimes she makes a cake. We'll have a dessert, but all oil free. And if we use sugar, it's going to be date sugar. Keep away as much as I can from any kind of sugar. Maybe molasses type sugar once in a while. And for dinner, we'll have a lot of times leftovers, or else we'll have potato and sweet potato, which I'll cook. So I usually cook I'll cook the breakfast for us. Although some mornings she has a smoothie, I'll cook the breakfast for us, and then I'll cook the salad. I'll make the salad, and at night I'll do the whatever's left over, or I'll make. We have a air crisp, so I'll make sometimes potatoes in that, and sometimes and that'll be it. So and I never really get into calories. I never really get into how much. I don't get into numbers very much. It's sort of what Colin Campbell sort of suggested. Forget about that. Just eat healthy and eat what you're supposed to eat, and you're going to start losing weight because you're going to be eating nutrition-dense foods instead of calorie-dense foods and missing the nutrition. So I think that's what you want. And once you get used to it, once you start enjoying it, it's like you won't go back to anything else. Some people do, but I think most people don't, once they start experiencing what good health is all about.
Yeah, that's what I love about this lifestyle, that you don't have to weigh and measure. And because of, like the animal products, they're calorie dense, so you can't have as big of a portion of those things because of all the calories. Where with this, the foods are so low in calories that you could just keep eating and eating until you're comfortably full and not feel bad
Yeah.
about it and not worry that you're going to gain weight. Because just like you, my weight has maintained all this time, and I'm not, every once in a while I get on the scale just because I want to see, what's happening. More because
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of exercising and I want to see if I'm gaining weight from muscle.
I eat a lot. I eat a lot. It is like I have to make sure I eat a lot, or else I don't want to start more. I don't want to lose more weight. And now
Right.
I started playing pickleball, which is I'm loving it because I always like competition sports, but I wasn't able to play it. So now I have to watch make sure I eat more. So, but it's great. I mean, for people who want to eat it a lot, it's a great thing to do the plant based because there's so much water in the plants and the vegetables, and it's etc. That's what you get filled with. So you got to eat again. It's great.
Well, I am so pleased that you were willing to come on with us today. You had so many inspiring pearls of wisdom for us, and to be motivating like this, because you can have two different outcomes as you age, and that's what we were talking about, being vibrant over 50. And a lot of it is in your control. I mean, we can't control everything. Still, things can happen to us that, no matter how careful we are, but a lot of it is really in our control, and you are just so inspirational. So can you please tell us about what you do, and tell us
Yeah.
about that offer that we told everybody to stay tuned?
Okay. Can I just give a little word of wisdom?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, this is I wrote this in my book. I'm not going to read it from my book, but it's sort of the idea that I talk about the greatest gift. What is the greatest gift? And the greatest gift is the great gift of life, because there's no other greater gift than that. Because without the gift of life, there would be nothing else for us. So once you accept that the life is our greatest gift, and we didn't even ask for it, that's why it's a gift. Then you can ask, well, what is another gift that maybe we ignore? And the other gift is the gift of our body. Why is it such an important gift? Because our body is where the life lives. It resides in our body. Without our body, where would life live? Wouldn't have a place to live. So to me, and that's what's really, philosophically or however you want to look at it, just seeing the body as being so precious because it's where our life lives. And it's like, well, if my body is really precious to me because that's where my life lives, shouldn't I be doing my best to take care of it? And that's the way I see it. I try to remember that as much as I can. This is my body, and I want to take care of it so I can really enjoy my life. So I just wanted to, mention that. And as far as what I'm doing, well, I'm writing my second book now. I hope to finish by the beginning of the year. And I'm keeping up I'm doing podcasts. I'm doing 2 podcasts every month as a guest, trying to get it out to as many people as I can. And I'm getting my website revamped. I wanted to mention also, I think like you, Amy, I went through Colin Campbell's plant-based nutrition eCornell course. So I'm certified in plant-based nutrition, and I've taken other courses on the microbiome. So my website, and I really hope that people subscribe to my ebook. Uh, and I gave you because my website is being revamped now. There's a link where you can get my ebook, and also I send out every Thursday at 9 o'clock in the morning. I send out a news. I call it a health letter, not a newsletter. So the latest things that I've come up with and I've studied, just to keep people abreast of what's going on. So yeah, that's what I'm
You're going to have
doing.
a link to the free ebook for everybody in the show notes. But and although your website is being revamped. It's not, the name of it is not, the web
Not
address is
changing.
not going to change. So that'll also be in the show
Yeah.
notes too. And and that's what it's about. You find this lifestyle, you find the health benefits, and the weight loss is just a fun side effect.
That's it.
Right? Yeah. And
It doesn't have to be the main thing. It's the side effect. There's more better things than just weight loss that's waiting for you.
Oh
I
yeah.
wanted to also put this up, the book.
Oh yes, please let me get a solo of you so we can see that's your book there, The Thriving Vegan, and we have links to that in the show notes, and you can find that. Sure. Thank you for sharing that with us, and also, like I said, we also have the links for everybody to get the free ebook from you. Well, I definitely want to thank you so much again for joining us and for imparting all your wisdom. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show. And I wanted to thank you, the Green Warriors that are watching, because for you being on with us, and you're asking all the questions, and you're also chatting with each other, because we're building quite a community here. And I love when I see you guys just saying hi to each other and asking each other questions, because that is just so great. And I also wanted to thank Just Has Voice, because she did the promos and she did the announcements. But before I tell you about that, please tell us, type in the comments, what are you going to remember? What was your takeaway from today's presentation? And Just Has Voice, she did a lot of work for us to help us with these promos. Can you tell us who is coming up next?
Prior to going whole food plant-based, Stephanie Williams suffered from extreme anxiety and, at times, depression. Hear how Stephanie decreased her medications by half and is working to eliminate them on Wednesday, October 26th, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, on Be Green with Amy Live.
And as a special thank you to all of you that have been watching, and I wanted to let you know that I have 5 free recipes that you guys, if you're thinking about starting this plant-based lifestyle, if you just go to begreenwithamy.com/join, I'm going to send you 5 free recipes, but not all at once. So this way you'll just get a couple every day, and then you can see if you want to join us in this plant-based journey, because there's so much benefit to it. And I really hope that some of you will think about doing that, and those that you have, that you may be interested in these recipes as well. But I do really want to thank you guys. So if you guys can go ahead and take your right hand and grab your left shoulder, and take your left hand and grab your right shoulder and squeeze, that's a hug from me. And as I end this broadcast, if you could join us, because we're going to be doing my tagline, which is be strong, be well, and be green. And if you could join us in doing that, and we're going to sign off and thank all of you again for being with us today. Are you ready to do my tagline, Michael?
Right.
Okay. Well, until I see all of you again, remember, be strong,
Strong.
be well, and be green.
Yay!
Bye, Michael. Bye, Green Warriors.
Bye.
Now you can listen to Be Green with Amy expert interviews wherever you go. Listen while walking, meal prepping, or traveling. Find Be Green with Amy on Apple, Google, Alexa, Amazon, or virtually anywhere you find podcasts. Be strong, be well, and